I'm just mopping up what you did last week, and for the recording, this is PACL 201, December 2023, City Campus 2. I'm just saying that I've spoken a lot before starting our recording, but it was just to mop up. I'll just do 2-3 lines for the benefit of those who may want to play back. But it is important that you attend live sessions if you have to. Okay. So what did we do last week? We touched on John Locke, unconsciousness, and mopped it up nicely. So we touched on the theme after that, the concept of a person from account of, according to Kwame Gyekye. And we saw the duality of the unity in duality, or duality in unity, whatever you want to call it, of the immaterial part of a human person, Okra and Sunsu, the two together forming the one unit called the immaterial part of a human person, plus the Honam, which is the material part. And according to Kwame Gyekye, that is what constitutes the concept, the idea of a person in account of. Okay, we saw the similarities you can detect in Gyekye's view of the account concept of a person and Descartes' interactionism, causal connectedness. Remember that the pineal gland thing. It says it is in the head. Look at what I just said. Tibua. See the abua bishop, an animal in the head, sort of. Okay. That convicts you on what you are doing, whether it's right or wrong. And so there's some similarity of the kind in how Gyekye renders the account concept of a person in tandem with what Descartes' interactionism, called that there are two ultimate realities, the dualism thing. Because they are dual, it looks like Descartes. Even where Gyekye talks about a third aspect, which he calls the immaterial part of. So the immaterial is similarly two. It still pushes the argument that they reduce two entities, one immaterial part, one material part. The one immaterial part is actually two in one, sort of. So you can see that there is a struggle to insist on a dualism. Maybe perhaps to fit into the narrative of Descartes. And so you should be able to do a thing about the account concept of sense in relation, maybe you're comparing and contrasting, or a connection, the connecting of the two views, Descartes and Gyekye, on the concept of a person, or on the concept of reality. We did that. And then further, I also said we see the implications of such an assumption about the concept of a person on health, managing health issues, psychological matters, political. Ghana, for example, for some, is physically something and spiritually something. Some say she's a woman, Ghana is a woman, me, my Ghana. Why do we say motherland and not fatherland? And stuff like that. So I say, yeah. As I say, yeah is a name for a Thursday, but why as I say, yeah, why not as I say Adwa or something? Adwa is a Monday. All these that goes beyond the person. She talks about, but I'm just showing you that if the earth is thought of as a person, it will have the same aspects. The physical is she, and then perhaps the non-physical. But in our discussion, we're focusing on the actual concrete human person who has this other part. Okay, so we saw all of that. Then I moved on to help you remember again the one on your screen, question or the problem of knowledge. And that one I spent some good time on. That's why I had to do it again for the benefit of those who may play back. The problem of certainty, we said the question of knowledge, what, how, that's the problem of knowledge. When we trace out and eliminate the problem, it's a question of justification. And that one is another level of the question. So on your screen now, see what is knowledge. We did all this last week. You must know what knowledge is. How do we come to know the two sources, and how do we justify claims of knowledge? We did all that last week. Okay? Then just after that, we stopped and engaged some important terminologies. And I want to continue today's discussion from there very quickly, then do the personal community. The personal community thing, the supposed individual, the person and the community, or if you want to use Miles's language, the individual versus the community. It's something that we should be done in 10 minutes because it's practical. You can relate to it, and so we'll do that shortly. Anyone wants to read for us, please raise your hand. Let's go quickly so we don't have a lengthy recording. We are just recapping what's on the screen. I see Feru Solomon's and another one. Keep your hands up so that I have options, please. Thank you. If you want to read, very good. I see 2 hands. John Bosco's hand is up. Keep the hands up, please. 3 now. Good. Can we have one more? Because I know I have. Okay, thank you. So I see Abigail, Solomon, John, and John Bosco. Let's take Solomon first. Abigail read next. Bosco read third, and then John. Solomon, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Some important terminologies. Analytic, that's relations of ideas. A statement whose predicate is already contained in a subject. It is a logical or linguistic truth, so non-informative. Necessary truth, truth by definition. Logical structure, meanings. Tautologies or redundancies. For example, all backing dogs back. A is A. A square is flourished. Is four-sided.
Very good. Thank you very much. So I was just trying to show you there what I have already said. And last week we said it. I'm just mopping up from the build of it and move to the next topic. Okay. We said that when I say a bachelor is an unmarried adult male, I haven't given you any information. I just repeated myself. It's just like saying critical thinking is being critical in your thinking. Or development is developing a nation. I didn't say anything. I only repeated myself. Why? Because I don't know development. And I'm using the word development to define the word development. That is what the problem is. Okay. So when you make claims like that, whereby the language, by the analysis of it, you are able to tell the truth or falsity, we call such statement analytic statement. On your screen, you see a good number of them. Okay. Why are we introducing ourselves to analytic synthetic? Just to set out the problem of certainty, not the problem of knowledge. That one we know. How do we establish what knowledge is? How do we come to know, and how do we justify our claims of knowledge? Just knowing. But when I say, how do we know whether what we know is certain? It can't be. That is another level. Okay. So analytics statements are one of them. Thank you, sir. Let's rotate. So the next one, Abigail, please go ahead. I'm projecting synthetic now. Abigail, please read for us. Be by your gadget, everyone, please. If Abigail is not ready, then we will let John Bosco read for us. Bosco, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We continue. Synthetic into bracket matters of fact. A statement whose predicate adds to the subject. It is informative into bracket informs us about reality, but it is logically certain. It is not a definition. It does not depend on meanings or relations or ideas for truth. Example, it will rain tomorrow. Race will win the match. Dogs
and
back.
Barca will win the match.
Okay. Barca will win the match. Dogs back. A is B, and etc. Note that the predicate applies the subject.
Amplify.
Not just repeat it.
So the word was amplifies. Okay. So that when we have, thank you, sir. When we have a synthetic statement, I said all that. Now I'm just connecting it so that you see. If I say the bachelor is climbing the staircase, now there I'm not repeating the meaning of bachelor, and I'm not using the meaning of bachelor. I am making a claim that can be true or false by all of them can be true or false, but I'm giving you extra information, something else that is not already a part of bachelorness. Okay. So when I say a bachelor is climbing the staircase, it's not the same as saying a bachelor is an unmarried adult. One is defining, it's based on the definition. The other one is informative, it's factually verifiable, if you remember your critical thinking. Okay. So synthetic statements have predicates that are not already contained in their subject. And that is all I said earlier with a long talk. Good. Let's have Abigail now. Abigail, are you ready to read the current slide? I want you to be by a gadget quickly. If not, then I'll take those who have read earlier. You don't have to put your hand down unless you don't want to read again. Ask Rep John. Okay, Abby is ready. Go ahead, Abigail. Read the current slide.
Rationalist emphasis. A priori. Knowledge that is acquired prior to experience, thus independently of experience. A priori certain because it does not. Empiricist emphasis. A posteriori. Knowledge that is acquired after sense experience, thus posteriori to or dependent on. Consistent because it depends.
You, Auntie, thank you very much. So you see that the a priori and a posteriori I told you earlier, you have to remember now. I'm just saying here again that when we are talking knowledge, there are two ways of understanding. When I say I know something, how I came to know it may have been through a priori means or a posteriori means. What is a posteriori? Posterior to the senses, that is independent of the senses. What is prior? A priori, prior to. So before, prior means before I even applied my senses, I already got the knowledge. My senses here, a philosopher. So when I say senses, you know I'm talking the empirical 5 senses: seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling. You're not an untutored philosopher. You are a tutored philosopher. So don't think of senses as feelings or whatever, okay? But I'm saying that posterior means using, posterior, after. So after using your senses, then you got that knowledge. You used your senses to acquire that knowledge. Either saw it, you heard it, you touched, you tasted, or you smelled to come by that knowledge that you have. That is a posteriori knowledge. But sometimes you don't need to see, hear, touch, taste, or smell to know. You just know by before even engaging your senses. Like if I told you a bachelor has beaten his wife mercilessly, you already know that that is false. You don't need to see anything. Oh, let us bring you her pictures. You see what you are saying. I don't have to see. If he's a bachelor, he cannot beat his wife. Cannot. Not on this earth, not in the world to come, not in hell, not in heaven. If he's a bachelor, he cannot beat his wife. Finito, because of the meaning of bachelor. So these ones are the examples of what a priori and a posteriori. And a priori, a posteriori are terms, words that are describing how you came to know what you know. How? Okay, that's what it's doing. But analytic synthetic is describing contained subject in it. If not, then it is synthetic. If it is doing so, then it is analytic. I'm projecting what I teach, so I switched to those slides I'm referencing. Okay, that is the whole thing about analytic synthetic. This is a priori, a posteriori. Thank you very much, Abigail. Let's take class rep John now. Or did I say Bosco earlier? Okay. Maybe Bosco first. Okay, John. Class rep is ready. Let me. And then Bosco. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Tentative conclusions. It will seem then that all analytic truths are known I don't know whether I can pronounce.
Okay, a priori. You think it's easy? prior, priori, a priori.
A priori. And all analytic
Why? It's a
truths,
recording. They will play it.
all
So,
synthetic
continue.
truths are known as posterior. But I'm waiting for the next one.
Yes, let it be so. We are not going. The but there is to tell you that, you see what I said? I said it will seem, and see how the seam is highlighted with the color scheme that draws your attention to it. It would seem. It looks as if then that all analytic truths are only priori and all synthetic truths are only posteriori. But when we advance, you may know that it's not always the case. People say that whenever you see pregnancy, it's with a woman, and whenever you see a beard, it is with a man. Then Kant comes and says, slow down, Wafa. For this categorization you are making, we may have sisters with beard or brothers with womb. Something like that is what he's saying. Okay, so every synthetic statement, back to our previous slide, look, would have been thought of as known a posteriori, and every analytic statement would have been thought of as known a priori. But there comes this claim by others. So let's see that one also. Thank you, Big John. Let's have John Bosco go ahead. I want to see more hands. Okay, Enoch's hand is shut up. Right, so I'll call Enoch afterwards. If you want to read, keep your hand up. Go ahead, John Bosco.
Okay. The problem of certainty. 1.
Mhm.
Is there true about experience, into brackets, synthetic truth, which is known with certainty, independently of experience, into bracket, a priori? Are there synthetic
That's the
truths
question.
which are known with a priori certainty? Rationalists
What do
say yes.
rationalists say? Yeah.
Empiricists say no.
Empiricists say no. Very good. So this is now setting out the problem of certainty very well. Can we have certainty about synthetic truth? Synthetic truth normally shouldn't be certain. Certainty means it can't fail. Or better still, it doesn't fail. It's necessarily the case. That is true of analytic statements. Remember, it's analytic statements that are always true or always false. So for example, a bachelor is an unmarried adult male. It's always true. I told you in heaven, hell, wherever. If he's a bachelor, he cannot beat his wife. Because bachelor is, the meaning of bachelor is what? An unmarried adult male. Benito. If you come and tell me therefore that bachelor has beaten his own wife, the statement necessarily will turn out to be false. So there's necessity, there's certainty attached to analytic claims. A is A, that's analytically true. All the time, necessarily the case, universally applicable. Okay, so necessity is, or certainty, is supposed to be attached to what? Analytic statement. And that is empty of content. It is just linguistic. So it will be certainly the case that A is A, Chichi is Chichi, Chocho is Chocho, Chacha is Chacha. And we don't know what Chichi is, actually speaking, and we don't know what Chacha is. But whatever we call Chacha, it is Chacha, the law of identity. Remember. Hey, which class is this? Level 200, 201. You do the 3 laws of thought, second semester. We'll do elements of formal logic together, hopefully. God willing. Okay. So there's a law called the law of identity. A thing is what it is. A is A, B is B. A cannot be B and B cannot be C. That would be negating the law of identity. So if you say Nancy is Nancy, you haven't said anything, you wasted my ears. My friend will say, A is A, Kabibi, you have not said anything. A is A. But everybody knows that A is A. It doesn't have to be anything. The law of identity, a thing is what it is. However, when you move from analytic, we wandered off a bit, so come back. Analytic statements have that necessity and therefore certainty attached to it. Either certainly true or certainly false. See that? Now we are talking synthetic truth. If I say it is raining right now at Legon, that is not certainly true. It's true for now. The next minute it could be false. The minute after that it becomes true. Why? Because of the nature of this. It's synthetic. It's information I'm giving you about the subject. The information may change dependent on the state of affairs out there. See? So it doesn't have logical necessity. What am I talking about now? Synthetic statements don't have logical necessity. Otherwise, they are not certain. That's why a doctor can say that the nature of your womb, no, you can't give birth to this. Dealing with a synthetic claim because of the nature of this can't be this. If you inject the COVID-19, this won't happen. People will inject it and the thing hasn't gone. See, HIV will kill if this. I'm talking the health one, and then the earth is in the center of the universe, and the data is not true. It is because you're dealing with a synthetic information about the physical world out there that can change. The person is a holy angel until he grows up, and you ask him, "What is your name?" He say, "Professor." And he thought you were so holy. You are not dealing with language, you're dealing with actuality, actual existence of things. So I'm saying that synthetic claims, back to the simple example, it is raining outside. They are supposed to be contingent. Contingent means sometimes true, the next minute false. Sometimes true, sometimes false. They are not supposed to have necessity or what certainty attached to it. I just hope you get it. So when I say I will come to class at 10 a.m., that statement is not a definition. I didn't define. It's not linguistic. It's not analytic. I'll come to class at 10 a.m. It's a synthetic statement, but the predicate is not repeating the subject. If it is synthetic, then you know that it could fail. What I said could be true or it could be false. Not necessarily the case. See that there's no logical necessity to it because it is information I gave you that can be false or can be true. 1 minute it is true, the next minute it is false. But if I say a bachelor has beaten his wife, that is necessarily false all the time. Why? Because we said bachelor has beaten his own wife. Look at the context of use. Do bachelors have wives? No. They can't even have wives, let alone beat them. So if you told me that it is already false and will be false, that's the whole point. Now back to our slide. Look on the slide. So if it is synthetic truth, why are we asking whether we can know such synthetic truth with a priori certainty? I've said all that earlier, just repeated myself, okay, for emphasis. Rationalists amazingly say yes, we can have statements that are not definitions. They are not true or false by logical structure. They are not true or false by the meaning. That's what we mean by synthetic truth. And yet, they are logically certain, or better still, they are certain, 100%. Certainty. They don't change status. They are necessarily the case. Rationalists say yes. How do we have such synthetic truth? Example, God exists. I said that already, now you remember. God exists. Hey, but God exists not a definition, yes. So how do we know if it is necessarily true? He said we already know, says Plato, one of them. Because God already put it in our mind, someone will say. The Christian folks like, before you were a blood clot in your mother's womb, I knew you. And I ordained you to be this and that, and I know who I am. Before the foundations of this earth, all these are supposed to be seemingly rationalist in intonation. I already knew it before you were born. Before you took a form, your mother's womb, I knew you and had ordained you to be X, Y, Z. Okay, that sounds religious. So let's talk some more philosophy. Rationalists, like Plato says, you already know the forms of justice, good, right, wrong. You have only forgotten through the trauma of birth. So knowledge is recollection of Plato. All these instances, I'm just touching on them briefly to show you how someone like Plato advances his argument that you have a priori knowledge already. How did you have it? It is already part of your rational nature. It is put there before you took form. So you know it a priori. And the empiricists say, no, we don't know anything. Like God exists, like it is wrong to kill indiscriminately for my I'm going And I say, take off the, this look obviously, look at, look at in this is analytic, yes, analytic, fantastic. But this analytic, I don't know how I got it here. I'll edit the original slides later, but that's, it is analytic. Here, this slide, we are talking about synthetic truths that we know them what a priori. So example is this. God exists here, metaphysical truths. If you're looking on my screen, metaphysical truths. The third one, ethical truths such as it is wrong to kill human beings indiscriminately. I've seen that. Metaphysical, or if you like, universal truths such as every event must have a cause. Whatever happens must have been caused by something. That is a truth that is not questionable. there's that is, we know that necessarily that whatever happens must have been caused. That's why I sit here and listen to the lecture. I'm looking for it, and you know that if you plant, you will reap. If you throw a ball at the wall, it will come back to you. If you go around gossiping about people, people gossip about you. You want to bless people, you go around blessing people, you will be blessed. What you give is what you reap. You reap. If you do good, you do it first. These are all different renditions of the principle of causality, cause and effect. For every action, let's talk some science, Newton. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you give, it will come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaking together, running over. And God goes to give unto your bosom. It is what you give that you receive. I was telling your this is level 200. Okay, so I think it should be either level 400 or 300, one of the classes. I was telling them there are certain benefits you are reaping now. It's not you. It is some good that your mommy be or your grandfather did some time back, and the person, the panic can them good. So the person spoke good tidings, blessings for that good act. And said, you, this thing you've done for me, you and your generation, dear, you never see poverty. You will never see this. And the person said those things, and they are still, you are still harvesting them. Go and ask Isaac and Esau, even Esau, yeah, Jacob, and those people that came through Abraham. What did they do? Solomon. You think it's Solomon doing before he was born? A lot was left for him because of his father. So when you plant, you reap. Doesn't even have to be necessarily you, the person who planted, but there's a certain sense in which the principle of causality is what I'm explaining like that, cause and effect. Put in, you reap. You put rubbish into the earth and go environment now. You reap rubbish. You go fishing, and the net catches only pure water bottles, a rubber, plenty, small fish inside. Why? Because that's what you fed it. Or you don't know. Garbage in, garbage out. You put rubbish into the answer booklet, you get rubbish results. I'm sure people are laughing at me. Yeah. It's the principle of causality. So you want to interrogate it and see why someone will say, this is a synthetic truth, but it is necessarily the case. You see that necessity. So it's not a definition, not based on meanings of terms and whatever, but there's a certain sense in which, there's a certain sense in which such statements, like the ones I have highlighted. I don't know any faith or religion that says it is okay to kill human beings indiscriminately. Indiscriminately means you don't discriminate. It's not like killing in self-defense. That's a discriminatory one. You pick and choose when to kill. We're talking about when you don't pick and choose, every die, all die, I'm working on this, killing. Which society does that or values that? The day they do that, that society will cease to exist. Remember level 100, Kwame Jechi's argument for transcultural values. I took you through them. Values that transcend cultures, beyond cultures. Ethical truths are like that, says those who argue for such synthetic a priori truth for this one. You say no society will say we endorse indiscriminate killing. We lie. We value lying. Who will go and give their daughter to another man in marriage when that society agrees that when we say look up, we mean look down? What are the exchange of vows going to be? I'll love you. When we agree that, when we say I love you, we value you're doing the opposite. Who will enter into transaction with who? For which business? You have to understand, when you do your exam, can you have your peace of mind to sleep? When you can be given F for something, you end at A for, when you come, I'll lie, because we value lying. No society does that. So the whole point is ethical truths, like it is wrong to kill human beings, is necessarily true everywhere. That's the argument. So that when we start interrogating them sometime in the future in the department, you see the point. It's universally applicable and necessarily the case, even though it is not analytic, it's synthetic. So information giving statements, yet able to have a priori necessity. You should be able to give such examples in not more than 2 pages of your answer booklet. I'm just giving a sample question. Identify or construct or create 3 different synthetic a priori truths. One being a metaphysical claim. Another, look on my screen now. One a metaphysical claim, one an ethical claim, one an universal truth. And in each instance, explain how such synthetic truth can be known or not. That is even too difficult. Just show that they are synthetic truth, yet known a priori, to bridge the discussion between rationalism and empiricism, something like that. You just pick any one of them, not necessarily what I have given you, but think through it. To every event, to every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you don't want that, say give, it will come back to you. That's a principle. What you give, you will get. Cause and effect. You push the ball into a bucket of water, you press it down, press. Release your hand and see what will happen. To pop out with the same pressure. If you press it gently, it will pop out gently. If you press it hard, it will pop out hard. It's a principle. Put a seed in the soil. If you planted more seeds and watered all of them, took care of them, they will all grow. You harvest plenty. If you planted only 2, that 2 will grow if you water that. It is what you put in that you will get out. Says authors like Kant, okay, who advocate for what synthetic a priori. So I want to going back to the top here. What have I said? So back to synthetic a priori, I just want to show you some examples of synthetic truth that are known a priori. I'm doing a lot of the talking again because of the nature of the topic. So we got here, and I was going to ask one of so rationally say, yes, there can be such. How do we know it? We know it innately, it's part of our nature. Empiricists say, no, there's nothing. The senses that was not put there. And there's nothing in the mind that was not put there by the senses. Okay, mop up has almost become a full lecture. I saw synthetic a priori analysis. Let me see another hand that wants to read. I saw one more. Great. So granting Desmond now. Go ahead, Desmond. Please read the current slide. Then we are done. We can move to the last slide for the course. I am joining you. Go to the next week. I pray I'm able to make in person. That we do week 11, the practical session that we have. A reference text will be there. So read first, then we can move to that. Desmond, are you there? Yes, go ahead. I can't hear you though, so you may want to increase your. Desmond, I see that your mic is unmuted, but I can't hear you. If not, let's see. Gift Zonira can read. Afterwards, I'll take Dorothy Atram and Farish. Go ahead, Dorothy. Yes, excuse me, Gift.
Rationalist arguments for synthetic a priori knowledge. Class discuss. Plato's innate ideas.
Go on.
2. Descartes' intuition into brackets of mind and deduction into brackets of God and matter.
And then 3. Azan. I didn't give you any other person. Okay. No, it's fine. I didn't add any. Because if I go further, then we are entering rationalism. It will be too much for you. Okay. So I just gave you some few. Thank you, madam. I just gave you some few pointers. They are all just pointers. So how is it possible that we can have knowledge according to rationalists? Remember, Kant is an empiric. He's a Kantian. What the kind of argument he will make later when you encounter him? But Plato is clearly rationalist. Descartes is clearly rational. Not mind or reason or intellect, as opposed to those who say we source for knowledge ultimately from the senses. Okay. Now, Plato and Descartes argue in a way that makes a case for synthetic a priori, but they tell you that that knowledge, according to Plato, for instance, was already innate, inborn, put there before you were. That's why I gave you instance before you were blood clots your mother's. I knew you. I knew you. The I that knew you. Where did you know me? Some say before I came to the earth, I went to do Krabia. When I told them when I come to earth, before you come to earth, that is when you took human form, right? You already knew what you were coming to be. These are all innate ideas kind of thing. It's inborn, before coming. But others to argue for synthetic a priori, not necessarily with innate ideas, but with intuition and deduction, which you can delve into later in your studies. I just showed you these. So claims like God exists, back to our screen, this one. It is wrong to kill indiscriminately. Everything that happens must have been caused by something. These claims are all synthetic, yes. But there is advocacy being made for them. We are going to make a case that even though synthetic, they are known with a priori certainty. Very good. Any questions? Questions seeking clarification. I see the hands up. I think they wanted to read. So if you have any question, it's not a big class. You can unmute and ask now. As I stop the projection of this, we are done with this. And project our course outline. Did you have any questions? Okay. I think people are fine. Those were all to mop up. Let's go to our course outline on Sakai. I like to do that. So you have to know where you are coming from, where you have reached, and where you are going to. So week 1, again, like I did last week, we did a introductory matters. We saw a course outline, etc., etc. Then week 2 delved into the substantive content on mind-body problem. Week 1 did all the skeletal work. Week 2, I went into the mind-body problem proper with you, the sources, the responses given, and idealism as one of the responses. Week 3, we dealt with the problem of reality versus appearance from Russell's perspective, but we did that after we had done idealism further. That's week 4. So we switched positions. Idealism came the subjective idealist versus objective idealist. That is Berkeley versus Locke, how they do their idealism, and how it is that Berkeley complained about Locke's idealism and how inconsistent it could be with his 5 groups. You have to look out for those discussions. They will come in your exam. Everything we did there come. This is okay. Going to choose. So that is idealism. And then from there we went to problem of reality versus appearance. The real table, if there is one at all, we may never know. Remember, we never know. And how you can practically situate those discussions. Look at week 5, practical session, the group presentations. You did them beautifully. I think we saw more of that for main campus. So city campus, the coming week's presentations, I don't want us to joke with it at all. Yeah. Now, lecture 6 was a problem of free will versus determinism and moral response. Another very interesting thing that I believe you remember. Then Dr. Boachi came to take you through the problem of the self, at least for the first group. The second group, as I continued with it, so the problem of the self, which I've used some time to mop up again. The recordings are there. Then the account concept of a person, we have done that also. And then the problem of knowledge versus certainty after your IE. That is what you did previously, that I have still mopped up again. And today is lecture 10. I want you to know that we haven't left anything out, and we haven't rushed anything, and we haven't also We are just going steadily by the course outline and engaging ourselves. So you see that like lecture 10 is today, the problem of the community versus the individual. And that one, in a paragraph, you should be able to capture what the substantive concerns are. The rest are all the rest are all flesh to beef up the argument. But the key thing for the community versus the individual discussion is there. And I'll solicit that feedback from you, the class. Then next week, Godwin, which is week 11, we'll have hey, there are people who are I was going to say class and a class. We'll have a class practical section. You want to say class and you want to say pla. So it will be pla. The practical section, friends, it will come. I need you to be alert, okay? Group work presentation. Where will we take it from? The philosophical problems of morality. So if you take your compiled reader that I put together for you, then it starts from your page 41. So you can look at that when you and read from there. I don't want too many excuses, so that one has been compiled for you. Utilitarianism is the title. You saw it in level 100. You see something on utilitarianism from page 41. What is utilitarianism? Page 42. Look behind it. The Bentham's version, that is the quantity over quality. And then obviously the next one will be Mills's version. That is quality over quantity. So it's not how much soup they gave you on the fufu. Sometimes they'll give you plenty soup and you regret collecting that plenty soup because it's not sweet one. That one is quantity over quality. And you plenty. They say, oh, this woman, the way you buy the fish, she gives a lot of soup. But you can't drink it too. That's why it's a lot. Another one too may give you just a little. I use the perfume in class. I don't know. One to may give you just a little soup, or maybe relatively smaller soup, but the quality of the soup, just one dip of the banku in that soup, you swallow and it goes straight, and you can tell that this is soup. It doesn't mean necessarily that every quality must be small, but I'm just using examples that you can relate to easily. So quality over quantity, or quantity over quality, when we are looking at the utilitarianism, level 100. So I don't want to go into it. I just want you to read it. Then we'll do practical sections around that. Okay. Would you go for a very, expensive perfume, but that you just spray once, and for 3 months you wash the dress for all you like, and it is still in it? Nice perfume scent, okay, your wardrobe or your hall or in your dormitory hostel, if you're Asian, just one small time, maybe you got it $100. So you traveled and you picked it and it's there. You just spray one, and it will be on you. You don't need to. But the other person too that bought I'll not mention 8 places. I was going to say Makola perfume, but I've stopped because my Makola friends will beat me up. You spray one, half of the bottle for that dinner. And by the time you go 2 rounds on the floor dancing, your dress is all sweaty and smelly. Because it doesn't do the job, but it's plenty and it's 30 cedis for one. Just an example to give. So I'm going to give you practical sessions. I'll fill forms and bring to class here. You pick. Every group will pick. When you pick, then you come in. The group goes to, we break out into the plenary, and then you go, the breakout sessions, and you go and think about how you come in, demonstrate your knowledge of the utilitarianism thing, or what have you, or the principles. Okay, depending on what's the name, philosophical problem you picked. Okay, so from page 41 all the way to the end there, we are going through it. I've shown you Mill, I've shown you Bentham. These 2 authors are dealing with utilitarianism. One is looking at quality, the other is looking at quantity. If you go to 48 of the compiled reading, you see J.S. Mill further, keep going. Pleasure, quantity or quality, I've said the same thing. The emphasis is pleasure, to be pleasing. The good is pleasure. But is it pleasure in quantitative terms or pleasure in qualitative terms? Then from 57 onwards, we see act utilitarianism versus rule utilitarianism. I think I have to do a summary note on how our practical sessions on this one will go. I don't want a punch and come kind of thing. So I will fill forms like the way you pick, give a practical scenario at a hospital setting of act utilitarianism versus true utilitarian. I give some 5 minutes breakout session for all groups. Go and discuss how you will do your presentation, who will be what and what have you. And then we start. Maybe 10 minutes, everyone comes to act. Call the group one, come and tell us what we did. Oh, we picked utilitarianism versus this. Okay, 5 minutes start now. Tell us. Okay, so we are giving a hospital scenario. Dr. This and this is so and so, and we have to make a decision about this, and we are applying the principle of this. You know, that kind of thing. Use the concepts. Okay, 57 acts versus rule utilitarianism. Some objections. Then we move on to 63. Okay. All on what? Morality. Now for 69, it is the role of duty. Morality as unconditional. Duty. Remember, level 100 again, duty. When you hear duty, which philosopher comes to mind? Let me see if a hand is up or if I can get a chorus answer. When you hear an action that is based on duty, which philosopher comes to mind? Enoch, your hand is still up and that's good. I'll call you shortly, yeah? But I'm asking the class. When you hear duty, which philosopher comes to mind? Gifty has put your hand down before I go ahead. Hey, nobody. Enoch, do you want to help us? Duty, the goodwill, categorical imperative. Hey, John. You're laughing. Gifty John is laughing at you. Someone coming quickly. When you hear Linda, I'll call you. You're also laughing. Anybody? Oh, don't embarrass me, please. They're not embarrassed. Mom made me go. Very good. Why did you keep long like that? Or you thought that would ask too cheap a question? Let the baby.
I was contemplating.
Oh, you shouldn't contemplate. It's very correct. Immanuel Kant is the brand, the name to reference. If you go to page 87, you see a summary there. Basic ideas of Kant, deontological ethics, from the word deon, duty, deontology, the conditional example, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I think we'll just have 3 of them. That's what I gave you. I don't want you to be stressed. The thing on utilitarianism, consequentialist theory versus the deontological one, Kant's one, and the versions in between, act utilitarianism versus rule utilitarianism. If you go to your level 100, very interesting discussions we had there. You should be able to work on it. One in business ethics, if you remember, one at the medical setting, autonomy and informed consent, if you remember. The guy who was going to steal to take care of his mother because the company doesn't give him welfare and mommy is sick and he has to take care of his mother. Did he pursue that action based on his egoism, or he was altruistic? Was he looking at his mother benefiting? Or it was actually he doesn't want to feel shy, people to point fingers at him that he, man of his time, couldn't take care of his mother. Is it ego or consequences? You know, think about that, or utility. They are all consequentialist theories. I'm going to ask you questions like that, and you entered class. I'm projecting now. And then when you pick, so that you don't say I gave you the, just mix them up. Then you pick, every group picks. If we are presented, then you all go and break out and put your presentation format and how you want to do it together in about 5 minutes. I don't want too much time because you have done this already. And you are reading before coming. Then you come and give us your scenario. And I think we'll have an interesting time. God willing, in person next week. Tell your friends. No absenteeism. I would have made the 2 classes, but I don't like that. Maybe you've scheduled your life. Excuse me, around that. We want to respect you as much as we can. So we'll keep both sessions. So no absenteeism and no la stories. Come to class. If we have to meet in class, if there is any but or if, we'll let you know. Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. Why are we breaking ground? Oh. All right, and then week 12 we'll do the revision. So that is the schedule. So any questions? And you can lead the discussion on person and community in 10 to 15 minutes. Let's go. Any question, please? Desmond, is there a question you want to ask, please? I see that your microphone is unmuted. What shall I? Desmond, do you want to ask a question? Okay, I don't think so. So now at your resource to keep looking on my screen. Yeah, these are the resources posted there for you. The first one I see is the account concept of the person. This, you know it already. This is free willism versus determinism, you know. This mind-body problem, you know. What we just did now was certainty, this, you know. This one is Russell's reality versus appearance, you know. These are slides on Russell's reality versus appearance, you know. So we have two papers left, the individual and the individualism communitarianism debate, and then person and community, this one. They are both then, they are both reference texts that were given to you a long time ago in Bethlehem. And then a recorded link of previous discussions were also shared. So I'm ready now to hear you on person and community. Who wants to set the ball rolling for us? Anybody who wants to tell us, what did you read? Samuel, thank you very much. Please go ahead. Unmute first. Anybody wants to set a ball rolling for us? Person and community, what's the problem there? The philosophical problem that we have identified and want to engage on briefly. Okay, John, go ahead. Good. Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you call it? Communitarianism and individualism is a philosophical issue or a debate that arises from social and political philosophy. So
Good.
when you are talking about communitarianism, based on what the communitarianism school of thought said, they said the community shapes or the community shapes the individual's autonomy, rights, and responsibilities. And then the individualism is saying that no,
Or the
the community,
individualists.
the individualist is saying that the community, though the community helps in shaping the rights but the community doesn't have what do you call it, the full rights or doesn't guarantee a full autonomy or something like that for the individuals, because what the community is imposing to the individual may not necessarily be true, or maybe the for example, let's take community A for example. They say that what do you call this? They should endorse killing, and then the individual that is in the community can also have the mind that what the community is saying I should do may not necessarily be true. So the person or the individual can raise a critique against it. So what communitarianism is saying is that the autonomy, the rights and responsibility of the individual is influenced by the environmental factors within. So that's, and then the philosophical problem is that if the environment or if the society really influence the individual, should that be the case? Because what the community they are may be wrong. It may be wrong. So if the individual wants to be persuaded by the environment, it means all the society may be going wrong or something like that.
Very good. And vice versa. and vice versa too. And sometimes what the individual is also pursuing may not go well for social welfare. And so the problem is how to manage where the individual's rights and responsibilities should be given priority over and above the communities, and where the communities should be given priority over and above. That's the problem. We don't know who to give priority to when there is such conflict. Very good, John. Someone else wants to add? Projecting Kwame Gyekye's person and community. He argues in defense of moderate communitarianism. It means communitarian, but moderated, be moderate. Okay, not fundamentalist, not overly communitarian, but moderated. Let me see, someone else has another comment, but that's a good effort, John. Someone else? Anyone else? What do you think the problem of the community versus the individual is, the person and community? Okay, let's have someone read. I'll just highlight just a few portions and then we'll continue in class, God willing. And I'll meet you next week. Person and community, defense of. Who wants to read? Oh, please, let's hurry up. I know we are all tired. Solomon, go ahead. Thank you. Read from the beginning here. We are quoting directly from Gyekye. Most appropriate. Go ahead.
Okay. The most appropriate type of relation that should exist between the individual and society has been an intractable problem for social and political philosophy. The problem arises because we believe, on one hand, that the individual human being has autonomy, freedom, and dignity, values that are considered most worthwhile and ought therefore to be respected by the society. We believe, on the other hand, that the individual not only is a natural member of the human society, but needs society and all that it makes available for the realization of the individual's potential and for living a life that is most worthwhile. The sort of relation that should exist between the individual and the society.
Everyone listen to everybody listen to King Solomon now. After setting the preamble now, there comes the problem. The problem is the sort of, so say read from there, the sort of
relation that should exist between the individual and the society is reflected in conceptions of social structure evolved by a community of people.
Now, so the problem, if you want to, excuse me, please. So if you want to problematize it, you want to show what the problem is. The problem is how to determine, and if you're writing notes, this is where you put down a note. What's the problem of person versus community? You're trying to problematize. You want to say, how do we determine the sort of relation that should exist between the individual and the society, both morally and what? Ontologically. Write it down. I'll explain that in detail. Morally and ontologically. In terms of being, ontology is being. Which one should be given more primacy over which one? Ontologically, in terms of being, society exists before the individual is born. You and I, we are individuals. Before I became an individual human person who has autonomy, look up here, please, say mention them, who has autonomy. What else does the individual have? If you are looking at it, open or mute your microphone, everyone, and read what I put there. I want to see if you are there. Individual human being, autonomy, what and what. I've highlighted that on my screen. I want chorus answers. Autonomy, yes.
Freedom and dignity.
Freedom and
dignity.
Well done.
Freedom and
dignity. Very good. So the individual human being has, according to Solomon, who is quoting from Kwame Gyekye's text now, has what? Autonomy, freedom, and dignity. Autonomy means autonomy, self-legislation, automated teller machine. It works. Automated ATM is automated teller machine. The machine does the work by itself. Autonomy. I make the decisions myself. I legislate. I make the laws for myself. Self-rule. That's autonomy. Freedom. I do it without any restriction. And dignity, and I'm a dignified being, meaning that and I'm honorable. you dignify me. These are qualities that the individual human being has. If you take it from the human being, remember Ortega, remember, okay, you haven't done a lot of Kant yet, you do it. Remember Kant. If you take it from the human person, he has become like the stone on the field there. You can't take away people's freedoms, their autonomy, their dignities. So that looks like something that is enshrined in the individual and their being. Now the point is, ontologically, when I say ontologically, don't get scared. The word ontology means being. When we want to know who came before the other in terms of existence, being, like the chicken and egg scenario. Is it the egg that hatched to become a chicken, or it is the chicken that laid an egg for the egg to exist? The chicken and egg scenario, okay? When it comes to that, is it the individual that leads society in terms of ontology, being? That one, it is difficult to defend because Kwame Gyasi says when you read the whole paper and you see the Miles link that I give you, the Miles paper, that paper that I referenced to, it built on it and then contributes the pessimist argument. Listen, Kwame Gyasi says, Onipa frisuru besia, besi onipa kuru. That means if a human being descends from above, a human being descends into a human habitation before you became an individual with autonomy, freedom, and dignity, which is very important, which are very important values. Before you got that, it is community that gave birth to you. You have to take your mother and your father, who are themselves born by their mothers and their fathers in a certain social system, religious system, cultural system. You see, community, it's a whole community. They will decide whether you should be born or not born. And on which day, and stuff like that. You don't choose, you are born. So Aristotle says man is a social being, a political being. Man is born political. When we get to level 300, maybe God willing, soon, you will see atomism by Charles Taylor and stuff like that. They are all arguing from such communitarian perspectives, but they are not necessarily a certain kind of communitarianism. So when we get there, then you do that. But here, what have we said so far? So if we were talking about the ontology, the being, okay, of the individual versus the community, then it looks like there will be a lot of argument in support of community coming before the individual. The individual is a product of community. Community, it's community that give you that mommy, daddy bring you forth. Mommy and daddy are groomed. The police stop the traffic for mommy and daddy to pass when they were crossing the road. When there's an issue, they'll go to court. That's how. This is an epoch, a civilization, a cultural setting, a cultural context. See, that brings forth the individual you. So ontologically, I keep emphasizing that because I'll shift to morally right now and then I'm done. So that the rest is your thinking through your reading to make the argument. Ontologically, it looks as if it's community first, then community is the mother that will give birth to the society. I referenced Aristotle, and it's a social being. Social, you are born into society or political setting, police. I referenced Kwame Gyasi, Onipa frisuru besi onipa kuro. A human being descends from above, he descends to a human habitation. You descend from where? Are you an atom that fell from the sky? No. It's a father and a mother, maybe sometime more, that come together. And by their decision, you are born. And they have to be integrated into a system, cultural system, religious setting, social setting, speaking a language, eating a certain kind of food, dressing in a certain way, believing in a certain kind of framework, worldview. A whole civilization that they are integrated in, that brings you into that world. Before you come and talk about your right and your freedoms and what have you, you're born into a human habitation. And I think that's ontological argument. Now the question, the other half of it is, so if ontologically, community precedes the individual in terms of being ontology, should we therefore also say that when it comes to the morality, the moral, right and wrong, good and bad, that is what John talked about. We should also say then the community decides that what is right or wrong. But moral on primacy is not the same as what? ontological primacy. Primacy means primary, first. So making the community ontologically primary doesn't mean that community should necessarily also be what? Morally primary when we have to make a decision. And so John tells your classmate, John tells you that it isn't everything that the collective says, the collective, that's the community, prescribes as good or bad. That is good or bad in itself. And vice versa. That's what I added. When you turn it around to don't also say that because I, the individual, I said something and I have a right and I have a freedom, my rights and freedom should be allowed to prevail, regardless of its consequences. I mean, imagine I entered the lecture hall. I like using those examples. I don't even know if the recording that your colleague shared on the platform that I also shared to all of you has those examples. I haven't played them back. But if they do, then it's fine if they are repeated here. Imagine I, your lecturer, Dr. Miles, I entered into the lecture hall in person to come and teach in my undies because I'm feeling hot. And I drove in my own car and I drove all the way to come and do my teaching of my content of my lecture. And I entered in my underwear to come and teach in the class because I have a right and I have my freedom without having regard for the people that are also going to listen, that they also have a right to free, uninterrupted, full concentration on lecture. A mother of four, a lecturer, female. You see, I came in my undies because I'm feeling hot. After all, they don't have ACs over there. So I entered the class. I wish I was there in person to show you what I'm doing in my city. He said, hi guys, okay, take sheets of paper. Let's do a marathon in my underwear. Please, yeah. Let's get and the Pluto. Can you imagine? In the name of rights, I have that freedom and that autonomy, self-legislation, and all. But that right of freedom, keep looking on my sheet, I've not moved the slide, is not isolated from my responsibility that I owe to the collective. They come like two sides of a coin. Don't only look at the head of the coin. The coin has a head and a tail. This is the argument that Miles makes in the other reference I've given you there. Personalism, and Jechi is also doing that, but he says moderate your communitarianism. So be concerned about the community, but give room for individuality. And that has been criticized because it will still be a community-centered thing that is just allowing for some individual expression. This is one of the critiques against the moderacy of community. If you call it moderate communitarianism, the feeling is that you are still going to be communitarian. It means you pursue morally, you will be pursuing what benefits community. Hey, we don't like this woman. Hey, John has gone to bring his woman home. He's coming to show it to you out of respect that this is a woman I want to marry. Then the family people sit and say, we don't like this woman. You who don't like which woman? Are you all going to marry her with me? If she wakes up and she hasn't brushed her teeth and she's blowing fuse, are you the people who smell it? I will smell it. I will smell it. Because I will smell it, let me pick from my choice, uniqueness. You see the argument I'm making, I'm now making a case for the individualists. Let me freely choose freedom. Let me decide autonomy. The kind of woman, the size of, apologies, you are this is university, so I can teach you the size of bottom power woman that I want. Let me choose that so that if I get what I want and in the morning she's blowing me fuse. Blowing fuse just means she's blowing bad, whatever. I can manage it because I will look out for other things that I like about her. But you tell me we will not marry this woman. You and who will not marry? That's an infringement. Listen, you see how I'm making the individualist argument strongly. When I finish and I start speaking for the community, you'll be sure. That's what a philosopher does. You're able to present it like a lawyer. You try to present the two cases in their strongest versions. Or you not you, and then you think you have hit it. You have destroyed it. You destroy a weak view. No, make it in its strongest, version. So I'm just showing you how strong the individualist argument can be. Is it are you the that person for the rest of your life. Your husband, Charlie. Can everyone hear me, please? I think we went off for a minute. John, can you hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you now.
Yes, we can
Yes.
We weren't hearing you
Went
initially.
for some few minutes. Yes, I stopped talking. I
Let's
think it was the
go.
network. Okay, and the screen is still visible, right?
Yes, it isn't visible.
I'm just about rounding
Yes.
off. Okay, so it isn't. If it isn't, let me
Yes.
stop sharing. I will share now so that those who lost it can get it. I'm resharing. Now I was just saying the same thing, that so you can't tell me that we don't like that woman. Then you go and give me some grandpa, because I'm 6 years and that grandpa has a lot of farms or has houses. The family says we have agreed to give you this man to marry so that he would help us. Charlie. So moral primacy is not the same as ontological primacy. Okay? And so the problem of person versus community is this. Where do we allow the rights of, and for J.G.P. says person, he means the individual. When Miles says person, he's talking about, she's talking about something else. What is the challenge we have when we talk person? If you talk of me as a person, I'm a complex blend of my individuality and my communality. Nancy is unique. She has free will. She has a free choice. She trusts all individual aspects of Nancy. But at the same time, Nancy is a relational being. Nancy is a daughter. She's a sister. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's a lecturer. She pastors. She does all those things are part of being. Look, the Queen Mother cannot go and sit somewhere and eat under the tree there, like the way you and I can buy a banana and sit under the tree there. It's a lie. Queen Mother cannot do that. Even Queen Mother is not a being, so her person, the first city can put it there. And look happened when the Queen Mother passed. Did you see how the whole Accra became? I'm trying to show you, so your personhood is bigger than your individuality. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't go to work in the name of Nancy and say I want to express my rights. Go and change my face to that of a tiger. I say I have a right to do a plastic surgery, whatever it is, and transform myself into a tiger face, like the one I showed you the last time. I have a right as an individual to do that. But I have a responsibility to my children because they have a right to their mother. Now, Pa, you tell your children I'm going to work, I'll be back. You return and it's a dog that is getting out of the car to come home. Where is your mother? You have to understand that in as much as you have rights, the rights come with the responsibilities, two sides of the same coin. That's the chief argument of Marxist pessimism, saying that so you can't treat the human person as if she is an individual who has just rights, autonomy, freedoms, and dignity. That individual who has these rights, uniqueness, what have you, have to preserve that, respect that, allow for uniqueness, choice, free choice, and all that. But that should be done in the context of what? Recognizing her responsibilities towards social welfare. So I have to be as concerned about my feeling hot. Remember the lecture hall and the lecturer in her underwears and what have you, because she's feeling hot. It's fine that you are feeling hot, so you want to wear something that will make you feel free. That's fine. That's your right. But you can't pursue that right to the detriment, there we go, to the disregard without due recognition for what? The communality. You are entering a lecture hall, brother. The people there have rights to free, uninterrupted lecture. Now, what do you actually to raise your lecture hall? I intentionally spoke that in tree. Who has a day? Who do you lecture? Some people are going to write exam and they are in bikini. And I don't understand. It's not so much like even the moral discussion that you have to do. No. It is just uncultured to do that. Someone came to listen to a lecture. You are sitting in front of the person and the back of your something is all on display. Who told you? Do you do that? Imagine someone wearing kaba and slit to play tennis. Kaba is an African clothing. It covers every part of you. Big. And the slit is big. The skirt part is big. Then you slit it at the back so you can move freely. Imagine the person wears all that, and wears gloves, wears goggles, and wears a head cover, and use a hijab or something, covers every part in the name of trying to be decent. To go and run 100 meters during an athletic event. Won't we laugh at the person? She's holy, yes, but that's funny. You are wearing the right things for the wrong place. Swimming event. Then you are wearing kaba and slit because me, I'm holy. We will laugh at you because it is uncultured. Culture is the way things are done for the place. It is not whether it is holy or not holy matter now. We are discussing your rights, respecting the collective. And so if I were in my bedroom or in my hall, or even within my compound, and I wanted to wear what I was wearing just so I can feel free, that one won't offend because I'm within my confines. But you're coming to a lecture hall, it's a public space. Is it your personal property? For you to come there because you're a lecturer, I'm talking about myself now. I just want to use that as an example. Then I come in my bikini and come and say that you people are not enlightened. You have to be modern. Modern. In brazier. And dross. So my lecture. It's not somebody's no modern. You have to be cultured. Why? Because you have to recognize your responsibility towards the other person. I come into my office hours, then I say, after all, it's my office space. I'm feeling hot. So people are coming to see you with academic matters and you are in your bikini, sitting in your office. Really? So rights, the examples I'm giving you are just to show you that in as much as we have to respect individuality, so Miles changes the language in personism. Look at the link there on your course outline I showed you. Bojachi's personal community, now I gave you the document. Miles's personalism document is also there. Miles changes the language. She says, respect the individuality, but also the communality of the human person. So the human person is one entity. John, Nancy, Debbie. By the names, let me look at them at the end. Solomon. When you see Gifty, I don't know if there is, let me see if I see a Muslim name, because that will help my example. When you see Gifty, you have seen a mother, a father, a religious. I don't see any Muslim name here. Let me use any that comes to mind. Let's say you have a colleague that is called Abdul Rahman or the lady Kra. Give me the name, say, Muslim sister, Sakina or something. And she's your compatriot in the office. Why do you want to go and serve pork at the reception? The end of year get together that you are doing for the institute. Why do you want to serve pork? And if you serve it because others like it, of course, if some don't like it, you can't say that. So others too shouldn't like it. You can serve it, and then they say, "Oh no, I will not take that out." And they say, "Oh, this thing is just for the event and for PR. You have to eat some. Why is it that you do?" Look, my friend, you are not respecting people's autonomy. You are not respecting their communality. She's related to that religious faith. See that? She has a relational other. She's a mother. So when you are telling her that after school, after office hours, we do, what's the thing, overtime, You are dealing with a person as an individual, and that is why you're committing that error. People are not just individuals, they are persons. They have relational ties, not just biological relational ties. When you are talking Arabs, or you're talking Muslims, or you're talking Christians, you have to remember that you touch people at places. Why? Because the human person sitting in front of you has biological, she has linguistic, she has, what's the other one, religious, she has cultural ties, interconnectedness. That is what communality is. So Mao says, don't say the community, because it's not one group sitting somewhere, homogeneous group. No, that influences your choices. No, you are in Ghana, excuse me, eating Chinese meal, wearing, Arabian clothing. You go to 31st night this year and go and see the church of the two. How many people do wear jalabia? Is it jalabia or jarabia? Please help me, because the person who taught me comes from some part of Ghana. When they say jala, you don't know if it's jala or jara. Is it jalabia or jarabia? Or you don't know. Hey, you want me to who knows? The white the white overall that is worn in Dubai. What's the name?
Jalbab.
John, you don't know. Is it Jalabia or Jarabia?
It's Jalbab.
Solomon, do you know? So I've seen Jarabia.
You call it Jalambia.
The white la aura. Okay, it's Jalabia.
Doctor, let me mention the right.
Because the person was saying Jala. I don't know if it's Jalabia or Jarabia. Listen, it's supposed to be clothing for a certain group of people. But if you go to churches, I'm talking Christian churches in Ghana here this December 31st night, you see, because you feel free. I mean, you are going to do some last battle into the new year, so you want to feel free and fire into the new year. People wear this overall and buy their church clothing. So you think that you are but
Madam, please, I can't hear.
I think it's the network. We all
Yeah, probably.
Okay, let's sum up. I think that Dorothy, can you hear me or give to anyone?
Yes, we can hear you now, Doc.
All right, so we
Yes,
went on.
please,
Yes,
we can
we can.
hear.
Yeah, I suspect it was the data. Let me. We are done. We are done nicely. I wanted to just. So I think we should be able to finish nicely. I got to the Jalapia and I'm there. I was just saying, so you cannot say it is this particular community that defines a person's identity. And therefore, like if Kitty and the others were arguing, you say therefore it is that community that will determine whether you become A or B. So John, no one can argue that you are protecting or advocating for the community. This the community thing doesn't work. We belong to various levels. I keep muting someone. The person keeps unmuting. Please, your background is noisy. That is why I mute you. So don't unmute, okay, my dear friend, so that you can have a very fine recording when you are playing back, not noisy one. So keep it muted when I mute you, right? Until you have to talk. So I just want to conclude. I was saying that you can't argue that it is this particular the community that defines a person's identity, and therefore that community's do's and don'ts should be accepted. No. Because we are constituted, we human beings are constituted by various degrees or levels of communality, says Miles. This is Miles now. She changes the language. She says, don't say the community, rather emphasize on communality. So I'm a relational adult. When I'm relating to my students, I'm a lecturer. When I'm relating to my children, I am a mother. When I'm relating to my husband, I am not my husband's mother. No, sure. I am my husband's chachuko. I'm a wife. When I'm relating to my father, I'm a daughter. So that one person sitting in front of you, whom you see only as your colleague in the office, if you were a boss, or you only see as a woman, is many things to many people, plus her uniqueness, her autonomy, and her freedom. Individuality is what she is uniquely. She's uniquely her. Okay? She has her freedom, she has her autonomies, she has her distinctiveness, her choices that you must respect. That is what your colleague read. And I'm still projecting just that you can see this autonomy, freedom, and dignity. But a human person, says Miles. That's why she's advocating for personism. A person is not just an individual. A person has both individuality, uniqueness, autonomy, sense of choice, etc. She has individuality. And this end is end of emphasis, the two together. And communality. She's relational. So because she's a Muslim, and she's a woman, and she's a mother, and she's this, all of them put together, you want to be careful what time you ask her to stay in the office. It is Ramadan, and you are not conscious of that because all you see is an individual, but treating everybody equally. Everybody is reporting. I was all respected. You have to recognize and acknowledge her communality, his communality. I'm a tongue-speaking Christian. When you are talking Christians or women and this, you have to be conscious of that because her personhood is encompassing of all that. That is the strength of the argument. If you recognize that, you see the real tension, the real philosophical problem, which I asked you earlier, the sort of relation. When do you allow, morally speaking and not ontologically speaking, when do you allow a person's individuality to override their communality? At the lecture hall, when I'm feeling hot, and the class also needs to concentrate, how do we reconcile the two? Whose view should we take? When the Rastafarian folks wanted to enter Achimota school, they had their religious belongingness. But Achimota is a community as well. So they have rights as individuals who are entitled to freedom of worship, but they were also entering into a community that has regulations and rules about how they want to live morally to ensure uniformity. This is what is happening. I tell them, my little girl has a lot of fine hair, but when she was about entering her current school, the rules there says, cut your hair. I said, what? After all this hard work? He said, you cut it or she doesn't come. Your choice. Now, that is a tension. Listen, there's a tension there. The tension is when would and this is just hair, so you don't see it until we start talking Hamas versus Israel or something. Then you realize that the collective us versus the individual me is always in so-called tension, fighting for position. Maybe ontologically we can settle it. You came to meet society, but morally, you may be wrong. So where do we allow individual freedoms to override cultural or collective or political, Africa or Ghana or ECOWAS or Ashanti or Ghana? See, when would that one override the other? And that is a philosophical problem. It's not a straightforward matter. I want to end with this. When I was talking about the guy who says, this is the woman I want to live with. Please, nobody can make a choice for me. After all, I will smell her something if I don't like it. So let me just choose the one I like. So that even if the thing is smelly, I won't smell it because I like her anyway. See, but if you go and give me a woman I don't like, even if she wears designer clothing, it will still look nasty in my eyes. Look, I don't like her. So let me choose. It was as if there was a full advocacy for individuality without recognizing communality. But look at the other side. If the woman gives you broken heart, without community, with your communal others, you're able to cry and call mama. Mommy, I just slay. You have a whole web of communal others to rely on. If Johnny Bravo passes on, Ajua Slay will not have the burden of having to take care of their children alone. There is a certain sense of what belongingness that human beings naturally are in need of. And that is why man is a social being. You are not an emmet. You will not survive as an emmet. You are not an atom sitting on a tree somewhere. You're a human being. And so communality is a virtue. It is not just because you want to see human being, but that is part of what it means to be properly human, says those who argue for community. Now that you see the skeletal frame of what the debate is about, your reading should be a bit more targeted. Read both. If you read it well, you influence your other disciplines very well. Because some of the things you're doing here, you see in peace science, you see in sociology, you see in social work, psychology, information studies, whatever, they are all there. So you can apply them. So please read the paragraph to the end, and then I am done. Who was reading for me? Yes, sir. Please go ahead, Solomon. So you read up to the word while. Then I said read the sort of relation from there.
Okay. The sort of relation that should exist between the individual and the society is reflected in conceptions of social structure evolved by a community of people. The existence of a social structure is an outstanding, in fact, a necessary feature of every human society. The social structure is evolved not only to give effect to certain conceptions of human nature, but also to provide a framework for both the realization of the goals, hopes, and potentials of the individual members of the society, and the continuous existence and the survival of the society. It seems that the type of social let me
structure. The next line is structure.
Okay, structure or arrangement evolved by a particular society reflects and is influenced by the public conceptions of personhood held in the society. These conceptions are articulated in the critical analysis and arguments of its intellectuals. Questions raised by intellectuals, especially the moral and political philosophers among them, relate in this connection to the metaphysical and moral status of a person, or self. The metaphysical questions are about whether a person, even though she lives in a community as a human society, is an atom, self-sufficient individual who does
Please,
not
for the
depend.
sake of understanding, read that. Very good.
Okay, that's self-sufficient individual who does not depend on her relationships with others for the realization of her ends, and who has ontological priority over the community, or she is by nature a communal, thus communitarian being.
Very good. Don't continue. The rest is for people to go and enjoy. Read the paper and enjoy it. Now, as you are reading, I don't want to end, but the time is up. You will see that the question is what he has asked. Is a human person communal or individual? Does my individuality negate my communality? If you pursue my individual rights, could it be in conflict with that of communal entitlement or communal welfare? If it is in conflict, which one should be given moral primacy over the other? Those are the philosophically interesting questions that elicited such responses from Senghor and the others. Look on my screen, if you read it, you see African thinkers. Some said, no, 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 no. There's nothing like I. Others say, no, no, life is how you make it. That's individuality. Some say, no, 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 it is by individual effort that we struggle for heads. Look on, these are all proverbs. Some say, no, 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 no. A family from a distance is like a forest. It's as if they are all together. When you get closer and enter, then you see that not knowing Oshunobian and it's one, not knowing it is individual, one. Look at these ones. The lizard does not eat pepper for the frog to sweat. These are all individualistic. It means don't say we are together, If you go and mess up your life, you suffer alone. Nobody cracks palm kernels with his or her teeth for another to come and chew. This is individualistic in a certain society that is seemingly what communal. But when we go onwards, then we see others also that are communal in orientation. Some of those proverbs that are put there, these are all there for you. I put them in your resources so you don't struggle to find it, to see the case that it is making for moderacy of the communitarian perspective. This is the one I talked about when I said the clan is like a cluster of trees, which from afar looks like they're huddled together. But when you get closer, you see that every tree is standing one. So from a distance, it's as if if a father dies and another father lives, you let your father go and die and you see whether it's true. Says the individual. He says, better work hard and protect your own, because you will say, we. I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am. Die and see. You see whether we are or your children are alone. I want to end with this. So read it, engage it again with the Miles paper, and then let's do a mop-up, God willing, when I meet you next week. I hope to do so in person. I'm working towards that strongly, and so that we can have a very nice practical session together. I want to end the recording, then I can take your questions if any question. Yeah, thank you